Hello, welcome to Web of Stories. My name is Melinda, and today is Tuesday, which you know what that means. It is Tag Tuesday time. And I'm in my Tag Tuesday shirt because I'm filming a bunch of tags today. I'm way behind. Oh, where am I shoe? So today I am doing the nature book tag. Now, I was tagged by Jolene at Bookworm Adventure Girl. Please check out her channel. This tag was created by Tamsin and Will and Anya at Tasmetu, is that how you say that? And Well Traveled Books. I will, of course, tag everybody there. So let's get started. The first question, what is your favorite book that has a heavy focus on nature, any genre? So I will admit, when I was thinking of these, I kind of went to my bookshelf and said, what's there? And I came up with, you can tell from this, The Seed Keeper by Diane Wilson. So Diane Wilson is an Indigenous author. There's a lot of Indigenous authors here. And this book, it kind of explores the divergence between the Indigenous view on nature and modern agriculture. Well, I shouldn't say modern agriculture, the agriculture and then the corporate agriculture movement. So there's kind of like three prongs that it examines. So this is a pretty deep book. I've read it twice now for two different book clubs. Really enjoyed it. Made me want to go plant a garden. There you go. So I'm going to say The Seed Keeper. Next question, which book gave you a wake-up call, climate or otherwise? So this one is a book called The End of the Oceans by Maya Lund. She's a Norwegian author, and she has a series of books that are climate fiction. This is actually number 2 in the series. I haven't read number 1, but I've read number 3. They're all pretty much standalone, so you're fine. And this is basically set in Europe when there's a refugee crisis because there's no more water. And it's not that far off in the future. It's really a heartbreaking book. It's very tense. I listened to it on audio. That was a good way of doing it. I think the translation was pretty well done. I don't know if I still have it on here, who the translator was. I'm sorry. But yeah, and I did go on and read another one of her books. I read the one that came after this, which deals with horses. I can't remember the title. I didn't like that one as much just because in this one it had 2 timelines and that worked really well. That one had 3 timelines and structurally I don't think it worked as well, but it was still worth reading. So that is The End of the Oceans by Maya Lund. Number 3, your favorite book cover that features nature. So this was a hard one because I actually have a lot of books that feature nature, but I really love this cover. You knew there was going to be a William Ken Kruger book. This is his most recent standalone, The River We Remember. It's about a fictional river in Minnesota, which of course, there's the river. You have a little person standing there. I just think the colors on this are beautiful. It really looks like rivers I have seen in Minnesota. And the river itself and the environments around the river are very important in this book. So there you go. 4, a book that discusses revolution and change. I am reading Les Miserables. It doesn't have much to do with nature, but there's revolution and there's change. So there you go. It's actually a reread that I'm doing Les Miserables. I've talked about it. It's a year-long reread. I read it in high school. I read a different translation in high school, and I think this is really a case of translations make a big difference because I'm reading the new, I think Michelle Doniger, I think that's her name. It's a translator. It's excellent. And if you've never read Les Mis, here's the trick. There are 365 chapters in Les Mis, so you just need to read a chapter a day. That is about 3 to 7 minutes. And then you'll have the book done in a year. There you go. Has nothing to do with climate, but it is revolution and change. Number 5, do you read outside? If yes, where is your favorite spot to do so? If the weather's nice, if the weather is comfortable, I will read outside. My favorite place is I have like a chaise lounge that I put up in the backyard, kind of like where the apple trees are kind of coming down, and I like to read in there. So, I live in Oregon. We have seasons. It's only during the summer I can do that, but I do it during the summer. And I love to read out there. Number 6 was actually a tough question for me. It was your favorite Indigenous author or book. I read a lot of Indigenous literature, and so it was hard to choose. I will say, my finger first went on my bookshelf to The Sentence by Louise Erdrich. Excellent book. However, Louise Erdrich has a lot of accolades. Everyone knows who Louise Erdrich is, and I wanted to highlight someone that maybe didn't have the same accolades. So I chose, of course I've already mentioned The Seed Keeper by Diane Wilson, and I have at least one more coming up. But this one I chose is A Council of Dolls by Mona Susan Power. This was my last 5-star book of 2023. Love this book. It is a little bit weird. Right there, it is a little bit weird, but it's still really good. And it deals a lot with generational trauma, especially from the residential schools. And it has a very interesting way of dealing with it that involves dolls. If you have a doll phobia, maybe not the book for you. Okay, a book that takes place outside or features nature as a character. So again, a little bit trouble finding this one, but I finally came up with another Indigenous author, The Lost Journals of Sakahawea by Deborah Magpie Erling. So this is about Sakahawea. If you don't know who she was, or Sacagawea as a lot of people call her, I've been told that the correct pronunciation is Sakahawea. If you don't know who she is, she was basically a sex-trafficked young Indigenous girl who was sold to a really awful guy. I mean, every account of, he's just a buffoon. His name was Charbonneau. A French trader. And then Charbonneau contracted with Lewis and Clark and the Corps of Discovery to be like a guide for them. He was completely useless. Like everyone says he was completely useless. And it was really Sakahawea who did all the hard work. But this is about her life. And I think in the United States, we're given a very charmed view of her life. Like, oh, look at this wonderful young woman who led, Lewis and Clark to the Pacific Ocean all while she had a baby. And this is fiction. But I think it's very believable fiction of what happened. It almost all takes place outside. It's almost all outside. Lewis and Clark weren't big for being inside, although when they got to Fort Clatsop, you bet the first thing they did was build shelters, because it is rainy and cold in Astoria. But yeah, The Lost Journals of Sakahawea. Okay, now this one was a challenge. So which book genres do you associate with each of the 4 elements? So the first one is air. What did I come up with air? Oh, We Ride Upon Sticks by Quan Berry. They do not actually ride upon sticks. They are not witches on broomsticks that fly through the air. But I really thought about that sort of kind of mysterious, we're living outside. We've chosen to conduct our lives outside of what is expected to us. We're going to be here, but we're out here, which is what made me think of air with this one. It's not a book about nature, but it's a great book. So We Ride Upon Sticks by Quan Berry. For Earth, another hard one, and I chose, you knew this person had to show up eventually, Come Tell Me How You Live by Agatha Christie Mallowan. This is a memoir of hers. It is absolutely delightful. If you think you know Agatha Christie and you haven't read this book, you don't know Agatha Christie, because this is a completely different person than her mystery novels. But this is a memoir of her going on archaeological digs with her second husband, Max Mallowan. This book is written as a love letter to Max Mallowan. So I thought of Earth because there's a lot of digging in the earth because they're on an archaeological dig. Okay. Fire. When I think of fire, okay, so first of all, I said, do I have any books where things burn down? And I couldn't find any. But then I thought of Burn It All Down. And oh boy. The Dark Queens by Shelley Puhak. These are, I talk about this book all the time, but I will go through it again. This is history, so it's nonfiction, but it reads like fiction. And it reads very much like Netflix. She is House of Cards. She is Game of Thrones. That's how they operate. They are sisters-in-law, something like that. And they burn it all down. They burn down each other pretty much. It's pretty wild. So that's where I got the idea with fire, is the idea of burn it all down. And then water. This was actually too easy because I kept coming up with different books. Water is a very easy one, apparently. I ultimately ended up with The Ocean at the End of the Lane by Neil Gaiman. I read this last year. It's a short book. It's a novella. It's so good. It is so. It's an adult fairy tale is probably the best way to describe it. An original adult fairy tale. It's not a retelling. But there's a body of water that's interesting in it. And very crucial to the story. If you haven't read it, read it. But it is definitely an adult book. Not that there's anything super objectionable about it. It's just, as I said, it's adult fairy tale. So you have that kind of fairy tale feeling, but you have things in it that you would not find in fairy tales that are written for children. It's probably the best way to describe it. Okay, question number 9. We are all connected. Name a book that brought you community, or a book club, a buddy read, or made you think about community. And again, you knew this book was coming, and it could have fit for a lot of these questions, but Mink River by Brian Doyle. So this book is set in a fictional town on the Oregon coast in what I believe is the late 70s, early 80s from context clues. And it is all about the town. It's all about the community there. There's elements of nature. This is a talking crow in it. There's magical realism that's a talking crow. And when I say talking, I don't mean like a parrot that just copies you. I mean like totally literate talking. You can have a conversation with crow. Gorgeous book. This is, as I have said, this is my favorite modern novel. Love it. And of course I try to fit it into these wherever I can. Beautiful. It is, the language is very poetic, which some people have a little bit of trouble with, just so you know, if you're someone who doesn't like kind of poetic, and I don't want to say purple because it's not purple prose, it's just poetic prose. You know, this might be a little bit tough for you, but it's so worth it. It's so wonderful. Mink River by Brian Doyle. So the last question is, have you ever participated in Climathon, or are you planning to? I have not ever participated, and I believe it's in April, and it is April. I would have participated in it this month if the end of March hadn't turned out to be such a cluster. So I will probably participate in it next year. I'm just trying to get back on an even keel right now. But I really appreciate this tag. This was a fun tag to do, and it got me excited about reading more like climate fiction and books about nature. So finally, I'm going to tag some people. I'm going to tag 3 people. I'm going to tag Pat at Book Chat with Pat. I'm going to tag Hillary at Book Bustle. And I'm going to tag Sue Jackson. There you go. I don't know who else has already been tagged in this. I know this tag's been going around, so if you've already done it, I'm very sorry. I don't know. I'm trying to play catch up right now. I'm sorry. And if you haven't been tagged, but you want to do it, consider this me tagging you. So go ahead and do it and tag me so I can watch your video. Thank you very much. Like, subscribe, join my Discord, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.